This podcast, Driven by Hughes, was brought to you by Hughes Chauffeur-Driven Services.
Welcome to Driven by Hughes chauffeur-driven cars, and I'm very happy to say I'm here with Jeremy Goldschmidt, the CEO and founder of RentBetter. Hey Jeremy, how are you, mate?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Now, it's 35 degrees in Sydney today, and we're inside a beautiful chauffeured car. It's nice and air conditioning, but mate, I want to ask you, you're the CEO and founder, as I said, of RentBetter. Talk me through that. It's a real disruptor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're a rental platform for self-managing landlords.
Okay.
So I think traditionally people, have bought investment properties and gone to the local agent. We're a platform that allows landlords to do it themselves, save a bit of money, take control over their investment property, and basically get the same sort of result that they were after.
So me personally, I've got a few investment properties, and I've also worked. One of my clients used to be LJ Hooker, and as you would know, for a lot of real estate agents, the rent roll is the biggest part of their business. What's the addressable market we're looking at here? It must be huge.
It is huge, and I think this is the one thing that when you talk to agents quite often, you'll find out, of course, the rent roll's the golden goose.
They're going to hate you.
That's where the recurring revenue is. But you do often find, and I'm sure this is a common thing, that you'll find that sort of the sales is the sort of exciting, glossy stuff that people are attracted to, and the rent roll tends to get left a bit unloved. And that's kind of why we were attracted to it, because it is a thing that's very heavily process driven. There's a lot of value that we can add using technology and a platform that helps you to do it yourself. So that's really, really attractive for us as a business model. So we think that, the market as it stands in Australia, there's about 2 million landlords who claim rental income on their tax return. And about 25% of those at the moment are actually self-managing, which is often higher than what people expect.
It's a lot higher than I thought,
sometimes that's things like Airbnb properties, and it could be short-term rentals. But you end up looking at the ATO tax stats, and you can see who's claiming fees for agency versus not claiming fees. And so you end up with about a quarter of the market. And we think, that's going to grow to about half the market that'll be self-managing over the next little while. That takes you from about, 500,000 to about 1 million landlords. It's a huge market.
Huge market. And I was mucking around before by saying, but they're obviously going to hate you, because for a lot of the real estate agents who, some are good at selling a property and getting a listing, and that's sort of their bread and butter. But the rent roll is their annuity for a lot of these companies. So you're going to be really disrupting this market, which I think is fantastic. It needs disrupting.
Look, I think often when you speak to people in property, they'll say that not a lot has changed over the last 50 years with rent rolls. Agents used to deliver checks with your rent. Now you at least get it transferred. But it's an area that is ripe for disruption, simply because there hasn't been a lot of change, and a lot of the service and expectations that people have from other industries are not always met. So, we without being disrespectful to real estate agents, they run their business in the right way. But for property managers, they end up in a really tough spot, right? One individual property manager typically will have 150 or so properties to manage. And as I'm sure you know, you only speak to the property manager when you've got something that you're angry about, and the tenant only contacts them when they're unhappy. So they're in a tough spot with limited technology and tools to actually make the job more efficient. Where we think we add a lot of value is a lot of those things that are simply process driven, and you can avoid the phone tag and you can avoid all these extra steps by using a platform that delivers.
I remember one of my tenants years ago. They always complain about mould. They lived in Coogee. It's a very airy place in Coogee. I said, stop showering in the lounge room.
Look, you see, that is one thing that we've learned over time, is you see all walks of life and a whole range of funny things that go on. I mean, mould is obviously quite serious in some regard.
I know.
But you do, we get to see it all, and we've been quite fortunate in that we get what we call a lot of love mail from customers and from tenants who say it is a better experience, right? The landlord is treating the tenant as if they're their customer, right? It's someone who's paying. They wish to deliver a service that will keep them paying. There's different paths and different courses for different people to take, but we very much think that this is the way that in this world post-COVID, people are used to having a dashboard and doing things online.
Big time.
We believe we deliver that.
And in a country where property is considered as your biggest asset and the most important thing in your life, so talk me through the tech. What does it do? What benefits do I get? Is it easy to manage, to work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it daunting or?
No, not at all. I mean, and look, I think you've touched on a really important point, which is that if you look at places like the US or even in Europe, there's sort of long enough history that a lot of property and land ownership either comes back through giant institutions, and that's where you get these sort of slumlord concepts, or it's sort of old families who own the land way back when. Australia's kind of got this unique setup whereby everybody participates. So if you look at the tax stats, actually, you find that it's sort of 1 in 5 people over 40 have got an investment property, which is a crazy number, right? 20% of the adult population has an investment property. So it's been a really good way to distribute wealth, and so there is broad-based participation, which is quite nice. And because of that, I think people are so used to talking about property, and I'm sure, again, on the weekend you meet someone that you have a chat about property. It comes up.
Everyone's
all the time.
an expert.
Exactly.
Yep.
So a lot of the things that one needs to do are not unfamiliar to people.
Okay.
And therefore, it is, in a sense, sort of some of the education is already there. But there is obviously a range of different actions and activities that need to be done.
Yep.
And that's where the platform comes in. So if you needed to find a tenant, you can create your ad, you can place it on the major property sites.
Cool.
You handle all your inquiries, your applications, tenant checks. You can create lease agreements, send them, they can all sign online.
What about the bond side of things?
The bond you can organise to collect it. It gets registered with the local bond authority.
Okay.
When you come to collecting rental payments, it'll set up your payment schedule so that everything's done on schedule. It'll receipt everything. It'll send out failure notices. You can do your maintenance. So there's a whole.
Are you raising money in this business? I'd like to invest.
That's good. I'm ready. Let's have a chat after. Look. Fortunately, we're growing quite nicely, and we've actually had a pretty good base of loyal customers over the last couple of years. We'd like to see that expand exponentially. But as far as we're going at the moment, we're really well supported by our customers.
I mentioned at the start, we're in a Hughes chauffeur-driven car, and this is effectively, whilst we talk about business, but it's about business people travelling.
Yeah.
You mentioned off air before we got into the car, you spent some time in the US.
Yep.
Are you a winter or a summer destination holiday?
Oh, I love summer.
Yep.
I mean, look, skiing as a holiday is fantastic. I have spent, as I said, I was in the US for many years, and I travelled quite extensively throughout that time. In a past life, I was a management consultant for many years, so I was on a plane.
What is a management consultant?
That's a good one. I think the old one is that they'll take your watch to tell you the time.
Yes, they will.
But no, look, essentially, we were very goal driven and would go in for short-term projects with large organisations to solve a major problem, whether it was about revenue growth or costs. Or looking at how they might outsource for efficiency. So I got to do a range of different projects, and so I did travel an enormous amount. And
what's your favourite destination?
Oh, that's a tough one.
You mentioned New York at the start, which is one of my favourite cities to travel to.
That is always going to be the winner. So as I said, I lived there and that was my home base.
Yeah.
But I found myself in every other corner of the globe while I was there. But yeah, New York is a very, very special place with, I think, just the energy and the excitement of the city is hard to beat.
I'll ask you about a travel tip, have a think about that. But one of my ones is if I'm travelling, particularly domestically, you get the Hughes chauffeur-driven car. They pick me up from the airport, straight to my meeting, and then they take my bag to the hotel to save some time. Any tips yourself?
I was actually going to go for something quite similar, because to me, and even in this day of taxis and Uber and all those sorts of things, I still to this day will have a trouble if I don't go with a service like this and have a pre-booked car, because on the way in and on the way out, that's the headache, right?
Crucial. That's crucial.
So for me, wherever I've been in the world, I've always looked for partners like this, because it gets you going on the trip in the right way and it brings you home in the right way, and that's half the stress.
And there's nothing worse than being late. I hate people who are late, and I love to be on time, and if not early. So it's really, really important. Restaurants. Any favourite restaurants that you domestically and internationally you always choose? I know there's lots to choose from.
Well, no, look, there's always lots to choose from, but I'm also I'm in a great life stage where I've got a 10, 8 and 4-year-old. So my wife and I will often say this is not our life stage to check out restaurants.
I've got 14, 12 and 8.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay.
There you go,
Okay.
So similar, yeah. Boys or girls?
2 boys and then a girl is the third.
I've got 2 girls and a boy. Yeah, teenage girls, interesting.
Yeah.
So, but any restaurants come to mind?
Look, we we have a couple that are sort of long-term favourites and old school places that we'll always go back to. Actually, the Centennial out in Woollahra is just...
Great hotel.
Yeah, look, my wife and I have a long history there from the early stages of dating, so that's always a go-to.
Very good oysters there.
Yeah. Look, back in the day, there was a duck and a steak dish that was sort of standard go in. We always knew it would get. Look, lately we've been to a couple of places, and there's certainly no shortage of places to choose from. So we do go and get out, but I feel like there was a time in life where it was almost like we were overindulging, and I could rattle off a list of 20, but these days I'm a bit slower.
Yeah, times change. I'm going to Mr. Wong's after this today.
Terrific.
Podcast, which is nice. Now, I always pack too much when I go away, or my wife does in particular. So we're going to Byron Bay just for these school holidays coming up. So we're going to do a driving trip.
Amazing.
But is there anything you always have to pack when you travel?
Look, that's an interesting one. I think the thing that I learned, and I said I travel...
Apart from your kids now?
Yeah. Well, I travelled, so because I used to travel, I don't know if you've ever seen, I think it's called Up in the Air, which is like a George Clooney movie, and he goes around and he basically travels non-stop. Yeah. And there's just a range of scenes of him packing the same undershirts, the same toiletries, the same suits, and he's just got it down pat. So there was a while where I felt a bit like that. To me, always toiletries and having that sort of locked away in travel, particularly, post 9/11 and COVID and all these different things that was always a stumbling block at airports for me. So having that sorted out, I used to have a long range of sort of small deodorant tins and shaving cream and all the rest. So that was something that I was always, strangely anal about having organised. Look, these days I'd say, the most important thing when you travel now is a phone, right? You can't go without it.
You can't go without a phone, and I think it's and it comes down to planning. I'm lucky. My wife's very good at that. And I just turned 50 this year, so we went to France with the kids, Sicily, and I'd never been to Greece.
Oh, great!
Magnificent, and that was a fantastic trip. But it comes down to like the real detail around travel and getting into the airport and away from the airport. And the only thing that we stuffed up was when we arrived in Mykonos. We didn't have a car to pick us up there. It was late at night with 3 young kids. Right. And that was a bit of a hassle. So
Hughes needs to give you a partner organisation in each location.
I was speaking to Hughes about that, definitely. Yeah. No, Tom, and anything with the business moving forward, what can we expect from RentBetter? What are your goals for the next sort of 6 to 12 months? Yeah,
look, I mean, we are very focused on delivering value for our customers. It's how we started as a business. It's what we think about and talk about all the time. We know if we look after them, they'll look after us. So what we've started to do, and there are any number of customers who have different problems at all times, and some things technology can solve and some things you need a bit of support for. So we've been slowly expanding out our marketplace and service providers so that when there are things that you do need, and I'll give you a great example. If you've got a property that's up in Queensland and you're here, there are certain tasks that you might not be available to do or organise. You might want to book a professional to go and do something. And so through our platform, basically we enable people to book a specific job or service to be done. We have trusted partners who can do it. So expanding out the range and the coverage, of course, there are regional parts of the country that are hard to get providers to deliver services to.
Sure.
So as we do more and more of that, we see it as sort of a bit of a flywheel. The more services we can offer our customers, the more attractive we are to those customers who bring us more people. And so it's sort of self-fulfilling that way.
What about stuff in and around the body corporate? Like representation there, that's a tricky one, I'm sure, liability.
Look, there's a representation issue, but we actually get a lot of requests for when are you going to help me do self-managed strata? So we sort of, I say this tongue in cheek.
Shoot me in the head.
Yeah, look, I say this tongue in cheek, but we've owned strata better as a domain name for some time on the basis that could be an opportunity. But look, I think, as I said, in this country, people are pretty mature when it comes to property and how they handle it and deal with it. So I do think there is an opportunity in that space. But look for us, we want to be the gold standard in creating a better experience for landlords and tenants. So we keep moving forward and pushing on that as hard as we can.
So if people are interested, how do they find out about the business?
Come visit us. Come visit us at rentbetter.com.au. There's a ton of resources and support there. Our chat team covers a really, really good proportion of the day. So there's almost always someone there that can help you. Just get in touch through the website.
And what about someone who's looking at potentially about to buy an investment property? Do you have some informational stuff around that?
There's two groups that have sort of emerged.
Without advising, of course, on investment.
Yeah, no. And look, we were very. My background actually was around wealth management and financial advice. Yeah. So I have learnt the lessons of royal commissions and all the things that have gone on in the market today. So we're very sensitive to doing the right thing by customers. But look, we definitely see a large cohort of customers who have emerged who are in the buying process and they're thinking about what to do. And I think what's been really interesting for us, especially over the last year or two, is as, if you like, a sort of younger set of investors enters the market, they're not even thinking about having a real estate agent. So what used to be a conversation for us was, are you thinking about buying a property? Have you considered how you're going to manage it?
Yeah.
And then there was a bit of convincing. Well, you could do it this way, you could do it that way. Now it's like, no, I'm definitely managing it myself and I want a platform like this.
Information's key.
So it's, so for us, it's like, great, keep coming.
Love it.
But so please hit us up at rentbetter.com.au.
Yeah, just to finish with, any funny travel stories? Have you sat next to anyone famous on a plane or had a funny interaction with someone?
Yeah, look, probably not sitting particularly on a plane. I had, as I mentioned, I was in the US and I did a lot of travel there. I spent, through the financial crisis, I spent a chunk of time in Detroit, which was kind of the picture for America's downfall in some ways, right? And so General Motors at the time was going through its bankruptcy and administration. I was working on a similar project. And Detroit was literally crumbling and falling apart. And we just had the most bizarre experience where they tried to turn the city into a film set. That was a way to rescue the city.
So he's a schmuck, we wouldn't listen.
So we were in this fancy hotel and across the road was this abandoned giant building. It would have been 10 stories and a whole block. And you could see at night fires in there where squatters were sort of living.
Yeah.
And they turned it into a film set, and like you had people like De Niro and Val Kilmer turning up at our hotel every week.
It's hilarious.
And no joke, they closed off the street one day and they blew up the building. Like it became...
Only in America.
And so we kind of, I can't say that I had this great personal interaction with them, but they were certainly at the bar right next to us every night and you'd see the celebrities come through and then you'd hear what movie they were a part of and then one day they literally just blew up the building. It was totally wild.
Well, they're doing that with the economy now over there. But one of my funny stories, 1999, I was selected in the Australia A cricket team to tour Hollywood.
Right.
This is before the IPL started in India. And the team we had Adam Gilchrist, we had my brother Brett Lee, we had Damien Martin, a really good time, Andrew Simons, these guys. So we played in Hollywood.
Right.
Played at 5 in the morning, so we're going out. So it's the best cricket trip of all time.
Yeah.
There's 250,000 registered cricketers in India, right? In Hollywood. But we just went to this really cool little jazz bar one night. I'm there with Adam Gilchrist and Damien Martin. And there's probably 10 people in the place. This girl's singing, and Damien Martin goes, "Man, this girl can sing." I said, "Fucking Dionne Warwick, mate." He didn't know. He had no idea. She sort of hasn't got a bad voice. I said, "Mate, she's one of the greatest of all time." Yeah. Hey, mate, thanks so much. And Jeremy, congratulations on what you've set up here.
Thanks.
I think RentBetter is going to be a huge force and B, a big help to a lot of people to really manage, as I said at the start, key assets and people in their superannuation and life after when you retire. Look after it. You get a better rate, which is fantastic, and travel safe. And thanks to Hughes for driving us around today.
Yeah, thanks very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks.
Cheers, mate. Good man.
Thanks for listening to the Driven by Hughes podcast. Be sure to subscribe or follow wherever you watch or listen. Hughes is Australia's original chauffeur service with a rich history dating back to the start of the 20th century. In that time, much has changed, but one thing has remained the same: our steadfast commitment to delivering a reliable, premium transport service wherever you need to go. With offices nationwide and a wide selection of vehicles to move 1 to 6 passengers in comfort and style, Hughes has your transport covered. Visit hughes.com.au today.